How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the James Loud Podcast. And today our special guest is Maya Elisabeth from Ohm. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You were actually on the hit list of the people I really wanted to get on my show since the show started.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's dive into some history. How'd you get started in the industry?
Cannabis and I have had a love affair since I was probably about 14. That's when I started smoking every day. By the time it was, the early 2000s, Prop 215 had just passed in San Francisco, and there were clubs popping up and in Berkeley and Oakland. And so I got my medical card when I was just when I turned 18.
Third floor?
Went to the third floor. That's
Nice.
exactly right.
Me too.
And the Patient ID Center on San Pablo that whole time. And just by the time it was starting to become an option, I was just kind of flowed right into it. So I was already making truffles and hard candies. I've made everything infused over the years and servicing the clubs, and started a all-female collective called the Homegrown Collective in 2008.
Nice.
And and then went on to somehow get the first permit for manufacturing in California in 2017. And here we are.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
Yeah. So the edible game has changed so much in the last 25, 30 years that, since 91, I've been smoking since 91, but since I would say 96, 97, it was the same in 91 as it was in 96. And then it kind of started with Prop 215, it started changing and people started getting creative. And I think there was always the hippies that got creative, on the lot at the Dead shows and stuff like that. You'd see some stuff,
yeah.
But it's next level now. Everything's milligram dosed. You're getting stuff that's safe and sanitary and consistent. And we never talked about milligrams before. It was here's a brownie. And you never knew, it's a strong brownie or, it's a weak brownie. And I think weak back then was probably 100 milligrams.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything has really gotten refined, if that word fits, And it's wild because we measure these invisible cannabinoids that turn from an acid, get converted and activated at a certain temperature. And we measure these invisible things. And you're allowed to be 10% over or 10% under in California. In Canada, you can only be 5% under. Yeah. Which I thought, how Canadian.
Yeah, how Canadian, right?
Yeah. And it's just this wild, wormhole of granular cannabis science.
It's all changed so much. The flowers changed.
Yeah.
To a degree, the flowers changed. Everything's changed, and everything will always change. It's all constantly evolving. We're all constantly evolving.
It's true.
And it's absolutely amazing. I think that there's a lot of people hating on the way it is right now, and I think it's still just as amazing in a different way. So, it's a struggle for some people. I get it. So, but I think we got to count our blessings. I think that less people in prison is a good thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think everyone's had their expectations and reality shattered of where we're at with legal cannabis by this point. So, it's kind of 6 in one, half a dozen in the other, where the cards are a little stacked against you with all those taxes and all the things that you have to do. So,
right. The beginning of legalization, as far as recreational, there was the first people that had the most amount of money got their licenses.
Right.
And especially with flower, that didn't necessarily mean that they had good flower. That mean that they could get their license and they had something on the market. But so that was disappointing for me, seeing all the flower that was not very good.
Right.
And it was at the bottom, it could only get better. And it has. It has gradually gotten better. Yeah. And, with extract too, I know Absolute Extract, Canna Craft, those guys, you're working with them, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Those guys have been pushing the envelope. Dennis has been pushing the envelope for years.
It's true. Yeah, both Dennis and Ned are for sure pioneers and, trailblazers.
Yeah, trailblazers, pioneers, amazing people, and they have great stories.
That's true.
And there's not a lot of people like the law was changed in Santa Rosa because of Dennis.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Legend.
Yeah, he's legendary. And it's amazing having so many people that are pioneers and revolutionaries in the industry, and they're constantly evolving and showing up and making change. And it's pretty amazing.
It is amazing.
So yeah. So tell us about Ohm.
So Ohm is my company. I started Ohm in 2008, and we started as Ohm edibles, but we've made everything over the years. We've done like the holy anointing oil from the Bible, all kinds of topicals, a lot of different tinctures, multi-herb tinctures. Now we mostly focus on Epsom salts and bath bombs, hydrotherapy, and we also just re-released our gummies, non-solvent gummy, pectin gummy.
Wow.
Yeah, but we've done everything over the years. We also have a CBD side to our company, and we do like bulk CBD Epsom salts, but buckets, 5 and 10 pound buckets.
Wow.
Yeah, some body oils and a couple other balms.
I'm a huge fan of bath salts.
Oh yeah,
not the kind you smoke, but
I know.
But Epsom salt.
Yeah,
I do. We have a jacuzzi tub at the house.
Yeah,
and I'm getting older, and I get aches and pains.
Yeah,
and Epsom salt is absolutely one of the best ways to help with inflammation. It's high in magnesium. It is magnesium, basically. It's magnesium salt, but it's just amazing. And then adding something like CBD, cannabis,
exactly,
full spectrum,
exactly.
I think that's just a big game changer. And a lot of people, I think a lot of people are unaware of the benefits, but as you get older, it's like there's little secrets. That's one of them.
It's true. I feel like, magnesium could alleviate 90% of people's ailments and woes.
Yeah.
And it's best absorbed topically. Yeah. So Epsom salts are an affordable, effective way to relieve pain and do literally a million other things. Epsom salt does like a million things. It even strengthens your hair. It strips away shampoo buildup. It stops spasms. It takes away eczema and psoriasis.
It makes you feel good.
Makes you feel good. It makes your dark circles go out from your eyes. It makes you sleep like a baby. It makes you have regularity in your system. Mm-hmm. You wake up like charged up with like not puffy and dehydrated, unlike alcohol, which I love, like a glass of wine here and there. I don't need to demonize alcohol, but like after a cannabis bath, you sleep like a baby and you wake up actually moisturized and nourished and rested and like completely like depuffed. Yeah. And hydrated. It's amazing. Yeah. And so we take pharmaceutical-grade salt, Epsom salt, and we infuse that with apricot oil, avocado seed, jojoba, and argan, which are like basically the headiest of the heady oils. Like, yeah. So like sebum is what our skin secretes to make scars go away. And it's found only other place in nature is jojoba oil. So these things are really good for your face, for your skin, moisturizing oils that are all plant-based. And of course, full spectrum cannabis. Yeah. Yeah. And then therapeutic grade essential oils. Yeah. Nice. It's amazing. I blush when I say this. Of course, I'm literally 5 minutes in and I'm about to drop my little bomb, but it's so worth it because I watch people's light bulbs go off. So there's actually a concentration of receptors in the womb space for women. Wow. Yeah. And also the colon is like a sponge. So, unlike eating an edible or taking a hit of weed, there's really no chance of a bad trip, but it's like very sedating. They do everything a topical does, but so much more. Wow. Yeah. So like couples love them. They really like can just shift your mood and take your worries away. Like even in the witchy world, salts pull negative energies and they cut energy. So like a lot of people who are healers take a salt bath every night to cut everyone's energy from them. Yeah. Yeah. Even salt was like a preservative in history or like.
Secretly, that's why I do it.
You know what I'm saying? You got haters be gone. And so in like many, psychic people's place, you'll see a bowl of salt in the corner because it's absorbing negative energy. Right. Also, cannabis, the government patent is for neuroprotectant properties as well as antioxidative effects, right? So the antioxidants cancel free radicals, which is what makes all wrinkles and illness. So it's like on top of that, it just leaves your skin like shining and nourished and supple. It's like a beauty benefit. And it's also great for your hair. So I'm like, there's not really anything these cannabis baths don't do. Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
It's my favorite consumption form besides inhalation. Yeah. Yeah. They go together really well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where did you come up with it?
So we were on the garden, out on the all-female collective, literally back in like 2008. And my girl was super sore and she was taking like whole bags of magnesium salt, like 10 pounds at a time and dumping it in the tub. Because actually when you go to one of those fancy soaking pools, it's really just 2,000 pounds of Epsom salt. Yeah. Yeah. So you can, and it's cheap. So you can like take a whole huge amount of it and dump it in. And it's like amazing. So I had just made a fresh batch of olive oil and she said, I'm going to go take an Epsom salt bath. I'm like so sore. And I said, can I put some cannabis olive oil in there? And
Wow.
she's like, yeah. And she came out and she's like, dude, I'm effed up. My body feels like a noodle. I got to like lay down.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm taking one. I need to see what this is all about. And I tried one. I was like, wow, this is really a powerful effect. It's so relaxing.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like you hang out with a lot of, couples and maybe the guy or the girl is a really heavy consumer and the other person is not. The one who's the heavy consumer gets in, is super relaxed, has this wonderful time. The one who has, is cannabinoid deficient, their body like sucks it up and they turn into a noodle.
Wow.
So it's just so interesting, kind of like by soaking in it, your body will take what it needs.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Really
Totally.
cool.
Yeah.
Have you experimented with strain specific using different genetics, or do you feel that pretty much across the board with the cannabinoids, you're going to get the same results?
I think that, so THC definitely makes a difference.
Yeah.
But we have 10 pounds of arnica salt and we have some people that buy 6 of them at a time. And I think to myself, wow, this person is dealing with chronic pain and these baths really must help. Right. So the CBD ones are very effective as well. It does like translate well, but the THC hits really different if you're into feeling sedated and relaxing, or maybe you're dealing with anxiety or severe pain.
Sure.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then with you guys have done all kinds of other stuff as well, edibles, and you've won awards.
We have.
You were working with Whoopi for a while.
Yeah, we were. So we did, let's see. I mean, I've done everything over the years.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of hard candies, probably a couple 100,000 peanut butter puffed rice truffles throughout Prop 215. Those we were really famous for those. They were like, I don't know if you remember Rainbow Grocery in San Francisco, but I used to go get the 5 pounds of organic peanut butter there, and then go to get the puffed brown rice and hand dip them in Belgian milk chocolate. They were just so heady and strong. It was like 2 for $5 wholesale.
You can't beat that.
Yeah, it was a total different era.
$40 now.
Exactly. I know. Isn't that wild? So yeah, now we do mostly bath stuff, but we did, like I said, bring back our gummies.
So out of all the things you've made, what's your favorite besides the bath salt or besides the Epsom salt?
So, well, it would be a draw. It would be the Love Bomb, which is like this all over topical / lube that we make. That's like 5 natural ingredients.
Wow.
Yeah. The Love Bomb or our gummies. I went really far down the gummy wormhole.
Yeah, I wanted to get into it because I saw the potential, because I love gummies. I love the, and gummies, as far as with cannabis in them, I think that's just a game changer. And it's so appealing to everybody that people that wouldn't normally smoke, they see a gummy and they're like, like my mom, I could be like, Mom, try this gummy.
Right.
Whereas I'm not going to pass my mother a joint. Right. That would never happen. And there's so many different ways you can make a gummy. There's so many different recipes. You can make them vegan. You don't have to make them vegan. You can, there's a million different ways to make them. And there's some really good ways and some really bad ways.
It's so true. And so, when was the last time you put a gummy that you didn't like in your mouth? Like you might try another brand or flavor of gummy, but you're not going to put that exact one back in your mouth. Yeah. Most likely.
Right.
If you really didn't like it. So, you start with your kind of pâte de fruits texture, more like a gelée.
Yeah.
You can get nice and firm and bouncy. That's something I'm really into. I want her to like talk back to me. So my gummy talks back, but she's pectin.
Right.
So she won't melt,
Won't melt. Still hold its form.
Yeah. And I'm not opposed to a gelatin gummy. Like I enjoy them. I'm really not opposed.
Me too. I don't like the hard
make
gummies.
pectin.
I don't like the Haribo, really necessarily the hard ones where it's like a lot of chew, where they get stuck in your
like
teeth.
A Swedish fish.
Like this. I actually like Swedish fish, but I don't like, I like Swedish fish for whatever reason. They're nostalgic.
I like Swedish fish, but that doesn't talk back. It doesn't bounce back to you, right?
It doesn't.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. So I can go so granular down these gummy wormholes. It's
when the potential
wild.
For flavors that you can put with gummies, I mean, you can do teas. You can do all kinds of Earl Grey, chamomile
100%.
With sugar. And you can also blend those with berries and all kinds of, I mean, it's endless. It's like a choose your own adventure. And I mean, I used to be a chef. So like I get really excited about talking about flavor combinations. And there's so many different flavor combinations that work really well together. And then you take something like a gummy and you can do a million different flavor combinations.
It's so true. It's like a frozen little bite experience.
Totally. So cannabis wise.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to smoke?
So I love dabs. I do a lot of non-solvents. I judge the non-solvent category for the Emerald Cup every year.
So rosin and bubble hash.
Rosin and hash. Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
It's the most lovely time of year for me. It's like having a little extra part-time job you got carve out a little time for that. Because it's a couple hour meetings, and we just wrapped that up actually. And that was fun. Yeah. I think it's maybe my 8th year doing that.
Wow. So who won? I'm kidding.
I know, right? I could tell you the number, but I don't know the company because it's actually blind.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So flower and hash are blind, but like topicals and edibles are not.
Sure.
So I find myself smoking a lot of hash. I do the Puffco. It's honestly, it's going to sound terrible, but it's kind of like a little out of laziness. Laziness maybe isn't the right word. I'm busy. I'm doing stuff all the time.
Right.
Like, my hands are always in something.
Mm-hmm.
And so that works for me because I don't have to sit down and commit a lot of time of heating my torch and all the accoutrement that goes with it,
Sure.
Other than that, I love good flour. I brought some really nice flour today.
Nice.
I brought some outdoor like East Coast diesel, and I brought some indoor cereal milk. I'm
a huge ECSD.
Are you?
Absolutely one of my favorites, and I have yet to see any ECSD that's as good as it was back in the day.
Tell me. I hope maybe I can be the person who can bring that
so
to you.
So disappointed.
Okay, you tell me. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. I'm nervous.
I mean, I get the smell for sure on the inside. It's just in these plastic bags. These plastic bags eat up the smell. They eat up the terps, basically.
Look, this turns into all one bud. Look at that.
That's awesome.
Indoor cereal milk. This is from the people who made it.
Nice.
Look at that. Turn in all one bud. It's so nice. That's indoor, obviously.
Yeah.
You barely have to trim it. It's like such a beautiful strain.
Got a good nose on it.
Yeah, they're both so fire.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
I can twist one for us if you want. If you want to try any. Yeah, look, see, sticky test check.
Yeah.
You could even like drop it and it barely even.
Yeah. Yeah, the sour is, I love sour.
Me too. Yeah, when you were talking about your flavor track there, I was like, okay, we're on the same track.
Yeah. I love Chem Dog, Sour Diesel, a lot of the old school stuff. I mean, you give me some GDP, I'd be happy.
So one of the entries this year was a straight up like 6-star hash made out of a nostalgic purple.
Really?
I was freaking out over it. I was freaking out the most over it. I was like, you guys.
The hash was purple.
I was like, you guys, are you like
Whitethorn Rose?
Well, no. There was that for sure. There was Whitethorn. Me too. It's really special. This was actual like purple Urkel hash, and this was my comment in the section. I gave it almost a perfect score. It was like glistening purple diamonds, like the color of this. And I said, when we had weed like this, we didn't have hash like this, which makes me a very lucky girl.
That's amazing.
Because I got to go in a time machine. I was like, oh my God, like someone went to the past, picked up that nostalgic purple Urkel, little silver tiny balls, and washed it into the nicest hash.
Right.
That was really special experience for me.
That's
personally.
totally awesome.
But
yeah, especially like those old school purples, it's like, I have not seen GDP in a long time. That's like the purple GDP.
Yeah, no one grows it anymore.
I
know why. Yeah,
because it veggies. I used to grow it, and it would veg for 31 days, and I don't want to.
It also tests around 12%. So this market is so percentage based, you know. But you have a tummy ache, you're going to reach for that purple if you have access to it. It's the best medicine.
Yeah, it'll make you hungry. Also,
so good. Take your pain, make you hungry.
Yeah, it was good stuff and good flavor, and it was gassy. It was like, we talk about purple candy gas, and it was purple. It was purple floral gas.
Oh, creamy,
maybe not candy,
milky,
but it was floral.
Expando.
Yeah, it was like lavender.
You take the tiniest pull, you get huge cloud that doesn't make you cough. I call that expando.
Yep,
I look for that quality a lot.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. So it's like when you're judging hash, see, smell this that I just broke open. It's so rubber tire in the sun.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so yum.
That's creamy.
That's
too.
so yummy. Yeah. This is
burnt tire and cream.
Yeah, totally. Yep. This is like this one's got the code for my brain that I want.
Well, we're going to start off by smoking some Z.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we live in an amazing time. We got to experience really good flower back in the day. I mean, it sounds like we're from the same era where Prop 215, third floor, Harborside, BPG.
Yeah.
PCC in Berkeley off Telegraph, and all the traditional guys. I mean, everybody was traditional back then. Even the guys that sold it to dispensaries, it wasn't like they had licensed grows.
Right.
And amazing flower, amazing genetics, and just as good as today, in my opinion, and more variety of genetics. I feel like there was more diversity, right? So like, there was way less strain names, but the diversity was, as far as genetic diversity, there was a lot more haze back then, a lot more hybrids too that were distinct hybrids.
It's funny. Someone gave me, a Jack Herrera cross doobie the other day. And I'll be honest with you. I can appreciate Jack Herrera, but I know that's not like going to give me the effect I want. I know that's not my medicine of choice, you know? So I was like, oh, let me just try it for like old time's sake. This is nostalgic. And it was, kind of early. And everybody's always saying Jack Herrera's or sativa. It actually was a super flat down or high for me. I was like, really? Ooh, opposite.
So there was so many, back in the day, there was lots of different Jacks.
Yeah.
I like the Jack Flash.
Yeah.
That was my favorite. My friend CJ from high school, his parents used to grow it. And I believe they brought the seeds back from Sensi Seeds in Amsterdam, and it was amazing. But there was the Jack Herrera is different than the Jack that I see today. Mm-hmm. It's very linear and very like limonene, and not a lot of complexity to it. And I remember the Jack back in the day having a lot of complexity, and also would get you ripped.
Did you ever go to Canna-Medcare at Polk and Sutter with the giant Buddha downstairs?
I don't think so.
Anyways, I used to work there for a period of time as a bud tender also. And that was definitely an era. We were paying $42 for purple.
Yeah.
$4,200 a pound.
Times were different back then. Mm-hmm. Missed those things.
Yeah, I know.
So, and I mean, I think that just the guys, when you're growing in a garage as opposed to growing in a warehouse, you're putting more attention into those plants. People are getting more per pound for it. But pretty amazing. Some of the stuff that we got to see. The cat piss back in the day was my favorite.
Yeah.
But sour and OG, it's like, dude, the OG was, you smoke it down to the roach. It's pine.
Yep.
It's lemon. It's pine. It's got that little hint of citrus, but it was like gassy, and not like Chem Dog gassy. It was like OG gassy, which is very different to me.
I'll forever and always be an OG girl myself. I just love those gases more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And actually, to be honest with you, the first thing to kind of like make a wave, I think, since like cookies and the gassy stuff has really been Whitethorn Rose, to tell you the truth.
It's so
there hasn't
good.
been a unique new profile in town.
So Whitethorn Rose, and I think I've talked about it on my podcast before, but as far as what I love the effect of it, and it's feel good weed. It makes you feel great. And then so my friend Dave has this Blue 13 cross that was like Louis the 13th he got it from Jodrey at Wonderland Nursery back in the day.
Uh-huh.
And from Kevin Jodrey, and then he crossed it to his Blueberry Haze, and it is incredible. It tastes very different than Whitethorn Rose, but it has the same effect. Like literally has that same, like you smoke it and you just feel really good.
Uh-huh.
And that Whitethorn Rose, if you smoke it in extract, I got some from Bella at Heritage.
Yeah.
And some of her rosin, and that stuff it's purple. Mm-hmm. Friggin' tastes absolutely
and that color's
amazing.
So pretty.
And then the rosin pens, I've got rosin pens of it that are just like, I don't want to share them with anybody because it tastes so good and it makes me feel great. But yeah, that's a fun, and you can smoke that day, afternoon, evening, whenever, and it just makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And so that is what changed my ethos in breeding in the last 2 months, because I've been so fixated on flavor, right? How does it taste? How does it taste? I'm constantly asking people how it tastes instead of how it feels. And I realized that I'm on the wrong track around 420 when my friend passed. And so now what we're doing is we're going back to like, how does it make you feel? And I think we're going to prioritize that a little bit more. And flavor is going to come along with that too. Course. But I think it's a valid question. Like, how does it make you feel? We're talking about medicine. Even though you're using it recreationally, how does it make you feel?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Even when we use it recreationally, I would just point out that I think it's still rooted in some type of wellness.
And healing.
Yeah, totally. When we pick our winners, for judging the Emerald Cup, I just noticed, at least within myself, there's never a hash that blows my mind for flavor that didn't also blow my mind on nose.
Yeah.
So sometimes there's a great nose and not a good flavor.
Yeah.
But there's never an amazing flavor without a great nose.
Yeah.
That's one thing I have been able to.
I've seen, so with pheno hunting,
yeah.
Sometimes the best ones are not the loudest ones. They have a good nose, but what I've seen across the board is sometimes the best ones aren't quite the loudest, because sometimes the loudest ones are the best ones. Skittles is like that. You squeeze it, you smell it, it's amazing, it's loud. But some of them are like more subtle on the nose where you're like, it smells pretty good. Like Purple Punch is the opposite. Purple Punch has a great nose. Like I think when you squeeze the bud, it smells pretty good, but then you smoke it and it's a big letdown and it tastes like cardboard turps.
Yeah.
Like you get one hit that might taste okay, and then the rest of it just tastes kind of bland.
Yeah, charcoal.
Yeah, like you're just smoking a plant.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a huge fan of that. I want it to taste down to
all the way to
taste good all the way to the roach, or when you fire it back up the next day, you're like, whoa, that tastes amazing.
Yeah, and then after you hit it, if the flavor sits in your mouth uninterrupted, until you interrupt it, you'll be tasting like whatever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with dabs too, like where it's in your teeth, right? So like you could it could be half an hour later and you kind of just move your mouth around and you're like, whoa, I still taste it.
Still taste it. This is what I've been smoking on. This is so yummy. It's actually from last year. My girl from Feeling Frosty Hash washed it.
It's really nice.
Yeah, it's so nice. So yummy. It's like kosher Skittles and a bunch of OG and Skittles.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
OG and Skittles is great. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have this new thing?
I do not.
I have to say, it really did make a huge difference. It was a game changer.
So yeah, I got the new Eris from Focus V.
Do you like it?
And I like it. It's like an upgrade to a pen. I feel like you get more of a real hit from it. And it's portable and it can fit in my pocket. So I could load it up and take it around. And
oh, it's little?
It's about that tall. And
it has kind of like a round top, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I know.
Yeah. It works good. And it's just like, it's like a big fat pen.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, dabs have come so far from having to use hot knives.
Yeah.
Or charcoal.
Yeah.
So
Chase the Dragon.
Yeah. One of our mutual friends, Micah, back in the day, we used to smoke on charcoal, and you'd light the hookah charcoal up.
Yeah.
And then drop it on there and have a tube and you'd hit it.
Yeah. Chase the Dragon. We used to do that. I used to set that up at the club for people.
Oh yeah. And so that was like that was before we had dab rigs. That's how we used to smoke it. We had BHO, and that's how we used to smoke the BHO. And we had butter,
Yeah.
Really good stuff. This is amazing.
Isn't that yummy?
So good.
So yummy, right? She's so talented. They're both so talented, her and Madison.
Yeah, and that flavor just sits in your mouth. It totally coats your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And it's complex. I like complexity. I feel like stuff that's just very linear. Like if it's just blueberries or it's just lemon or it's just orange, it doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Agent Orange, for the most part, I've tried a couple different phenos of Agent Orange over the years, but Agent Orange, from Subcool. Now that was very linear to me. And then I went to House of Cultivar in Washington, and they had some Agent Orange that was like the most amazing, complex, like hits on all these levels, and it was amazing. So sometimes phenotypes have a huge play in that. But it's like, and I'm not a huge orange terp guy, but like I like everything. I like everything in the right moment. I like everything. I even like Blue Dreams from time to time.
Oh yeah.
Blue Dream?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And if you're around 15 years ago, you got to see really amazing Blue Dream.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of it. It was everywhere.
When there was like that little like trend going around where people were trying to put down Blue Dream, I was like, first of all, it's weed.
Oh, they still hate on it.
And second of all, I guess you weren't in Prop 215 when it was really cracking then, because we were making lots of progress and success with Blue Dream.
And before everybody had it, it was the thing to have. And it was in high demand. And then we can blame Ed Rosenthal and a couple other people.
Why? They bashed it down?
They released the clones of it.
Oh, man.
Maybe it was Ed. Maybe it wasn't. I'm not sure. But Ed did sell clones back in the day, and he sold a lot of clones. But yeah, Blue Dream, as soon as it got out, everybody shared it with everybody. It yielded so much.
Yeah.
And everybody wanted to grow it. And it made you look like a good grower. So It's like one of those ones, like if you want, and I would used to tell people, beginner growers, you should grow that if you're growing for the first time. Don't grow OG Kush. Even though you love smoking OG, grow Blue Dream. See how you do with Blue Dream first.
Exactly.
And I mean, I used to love growing, and it was the first thing I got over 2 pounds. That and sour, I used to get 2 pounds of light. Now that's like nothing. And people were like, I get 4 pounds. But back in the day, 2 pounds, like if you hit 2 pounds, everyone else was getting 1.5 pounds. You were doing really good.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, Blue Dream does make people look like good growers because it's like kind of blue and silver.
yeah.
Not too many hairs.
Right. And you feel really good about yourself. It finishes and it's chunky and it's
Yeah.
You know, the cut that used to go around, and I think there's a lot of S1s that have floated around since. And I think a lot of the people that have cuts now have S1s. I mean, there's a handful of people that still have the real deal, but I don't see a lot of the flour that's like the same stuff that we had that was like super sticky.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's as far as like structure and vigor and a lot of the boxes that are to be checked, it was the apical of all of them back in the day. You know,
I agree.
it looks so beautiful. And you would open a pound bag, a turkey bag. You open that back in the day and it was like, wow, what is this? Especially if it was the first time you ever saw it.
Absolutely.
So
I know it.
So that and Afgoo. I don't know if you remember Afgoo.
Yeah. I remember Afghan goo for sure.
Yeah. So we used to get, I mean, the sweet Afgoo was so amazing. The first time I saw it, I was like, this is fake.
Yeah.
There's no way that there could be this much sugar on a plant.
Yeah. I always saw that. I've always smell almost like a bread dough, a yeasty bread dough on Afghan goo.
Yeah.
That was a good medicine strain too.
It was good.
Heavy indica.
Heavy. Yeah, it was heavy. It was heavy. And it looked just crazy. Like my friends used to grow it. It looked like they had sprinkled trichomes on it. And I was like, there's no way this is real. Like,
absolutely.
So.
Remember the old school like hash plant that was all garlicky,
Mm-hmm.
smelled like onions?
Oh yeah. That wasn't terpy necessarily. It was kind of bland as far as terpenes go, but it did smell savory. It was like savory.
Yeah.
And it was like super mild.
Not an expando.
On the no, but it was strong.
Almost GMO harsh.
Yeah.
You know how flat GMO can be like almost like harshy hollow, non-milky?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
GMO is another one, like Donnie Burger GMO, and how that's evolved into the extract scene. Like, heavy.
I like garlic hash.
Yeah.
That's a really good high.
Yeah. Really strong. The flour GMO, my friend Marlon went through this phase after, like, he was an OG head, and that's all he wanted to smoke. Only OG. I had a lawyer back in the day, and I had Marlon. And those two people, all they wanted to smoke was OG Kush. Like, literally, Marlon was like, where's the OG? I used to be the OG guy. And
I love OG.
That's how I met Marlon Asher back in the day, was from OG. Up. So, and then he went on this GMO kick. And that GMO kick lasted a little bit, but it's so strong. And so I was like, GMO is cool. I prefer sour.
Yeah.
But GMO was
more stimulating.
More stimulating. And that stuff would, you would be high.
Yeah.
Super. In the extract too, dabs of GMO, done.
Yeah. I love sour. I love a good sour diesel.
Yeah.
Myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I feel like some people, it gives them like the couch lock for whatever reason.
Me productive.
It makes me productive, but it's another one that makes me feel right.
Absolutely.
So yeah, all those chems. I feel like the gassy chems were always good. OGs too.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the state of the industry.
All right.
What do you think about everything that's going on right now with cannabis in California?
When I look at the cannabis space right now, I see opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took me a minute to come back to this.
Mm-hmm.
I had my little, moment in the corner.
Yeah.
I had my timeout.
Right. Totally.
Even though it wasn't ever really a timeout, but you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, there was a time where it was like, what's going on here? Like,
yeah.
And I feel like we're so new to the whole industry is new.
Yeah.
And so there's no balance. There's no solid foundation with everything that's going on. It's this time where it's like, what's happening next?
Right.
And we didn't know.
Right.
And I think that's scary. That can be very scary.
So we're here in California watching New York get their wave, and it's so interesting. So gosh, there were, remember when all that Canadian money was around,
mm-hmm.
and
all the LPs coming down, buying everything.
Yeah, like it was so fun. So it was like, I kind of feel like the way Ohm played it was like, we didn't take on, too much money.
Yeah. That's the best.
You know what I mean? And so here we are these years later, like still totally like chugging along, but we've switched distributions a bunch of times. Mm-hmm. We've switched manufacturers a few times. I mean, it's been rough out there. And if I wasn't completely in love with weed, I definitely would have given up.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like, you can't see yourself giving up, so
right. You just got to keep fighting.
I'm just totally still here, and I've just shifted my perspective, and it feels really good to kind of like shift my expectations a little bit. Cause when I step back and take what I thought I was going to get out of there,
yeah,
I'm actually really blessed, and lucky. Like, people use our products, every month people use our bath products and they bring people relief. And I came for that juice, I came for that juice and that nectar.
Gratitude. Living in gratitude.
I am grateful, and so, cannabis is a female spirit. It's like water is a female spirit. Like, can you find anywhere in nature where there's a 90-degree angle in a body of water? No river or lake has a corner, So we take water and we put it in these 90-degree angle pipes, right? And we're kind of like changing the programming of this like energy, So I kind of feel like that's what we did with cannabis. We took it from like the feminine, the open, the free, because like cannabis is this forever giving, generous plant. Like you use the scraps and then you can like use the scraps again, and then you can use the roots and the seeds. And it's just this ever giving, non-discriminatory, like compassionate,
sacred plant.
Ever giving thing, that she doesn't want you to weigh her before you throw her away and block your flow because you have to track every bit. She says, there's more than enough of me. Just take me, Right. So in the spirit of that plant, kind of shoving it into this 90-degree compliant.
Right.
For me, there was always this disharmony, and I can feel that because I'm on the super feminine side of it.
Right.
So as crazy as it sounds, there was a part of me that had to disassociate a long time ago, like 7 years ago. And, and now I just see it for what it is. So like, we do CBD, like we do all kinds of things. I always forever make medicine. I make Rick Simpson oil. Like I'll always forever be a medicine maker doing it my own way, as well as this like compliant market, because we've come so far. Like, why would I give up now?
Absolutely.
I can't see that, so I get it. And once my reality came to reality, I understood that, there's no one coming to save us. Right. This industry is challenged, and most other people probably would have given up, because like sometimes if I feel like I'm going backwards, it's like, no, actually you're still going forward. It's not a circle, it's a spiral, because, what looks like success today is very different from what I thought I would have been getting 5 years ago.
Right.
Right. So all that to say this, I feel grateful. I'm fine. I understand it now. I understand everything now. We actually let our permit go. We got the first one in California. We decided to let ours go. Wow. Maybe 2 years ago now. We were at a crossroad. It was like, okay, we're good at manufacturing. We've scored 100 on our tests. Like, we did all the things. We had this standalone building in Berkeley. It was like beautiful. That's how we got the first one, is Berkeley let us through.
Right.
And but you have to realize with that comes managing employees, workers' comp, right? A lot of robberies started happening. You might be following the rules with security, but it could be easy to still break in. We're a bunch of girls.
Yeah.
So I kind of found myself at a crossroad. Like, I could pick up other brands to manufacture for and like really be a manufacturer, or I can just focus on being a brand and work with a manufacturer. So we decided to actually do that.
Nice.
And and it's I don't feel like I made the wrong decision. I really feel good about it. Everything still takes work. It's not like when you choose that route, your work is done as an entrepreneur. It's really not like that at all.
Some of it is the work just starts to begin.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you're still doing all the things. So like, I will say that a lot of people think people in cannabis are just like living some sloppy, easy life, and
it's a grind.
We need a break more than anyone. Like all my poor cannabis friends, I'm like, bro, you need a vacation. Like we've been saying it's not boss girl, it's moss girl summer. Sure. And like really time to kick it back. These hamster wheels go on forever. They're wheels. They're made to spin forever. Mm-hmm. And so like,
sometimes you need to jump out.
And you need to get perspective. The grind is relentless. And and like, I want to get more for doing less at this point. And when you hop into these vibrational hacks, right, where all the money in the world is already out there and it's a frequency. So like, how do I tap into that station and like just divert it over here for like really doing less, or like, or like, what would I do with my time for free? Mm-hmm. Right now, how can I figure out a way to like make abundance out of that? So just a lot of shifting, in terms of, like everybody, we've been going through rapid growth these last 10 years for sure.
Yeah.
So much shifting.
It's been wild, and it's not stable by any means.
Right.
It still has a long ways to go before the market stabilizes, but we're seeing, I mean, the light of the tunnel is there.
Right.
I know it's there and I can see it. I'm still going to just put one foot in front of the next. I feel like what you said really resonates with me, that nobody's going to come save you.
Yeah.
You really got to do it yourself. If you don't like the way the laws are written, change them.
Right.
Or make effort towards that.
Right.
If you feel like your business is failing, do whatever it takes. Sometimes you just got to suck it up and wake up the next day and do the best you can do.
Right.
And go one more day and live one day at a time if you have to.
Or another good example, like everyone's talking about this recent law that they're talking about passing, this federal legalization or decriminalization, whatever, and it's like, okay, I get it. Okay, you can choose the fear factor timeline, or you can understand that like this plant has a gravitational pull, and like when you're with her and in alignment, like the doors just seem to open. So like trust your flow, that there's going to be a place for you. Mm-hmm. Not everybody that's going to come here is going to be monsters. There's going to be good people everywhere, just like everywhere in life. So we just got to trust that we'll get in where we fit in.
Well, yeah, and if you take away your ego and allow yourself to be driven by passion, I think that's where you're going to win, especially with the plant.
100%.
And if you love the plant, like I love the plant, like you love the plant, you're going to be successful, and you're going to pivot, or you're going to do whatever it takes to be successful. And
totally.
And it's just, I'm just so grateful that I'm here. I'm so grateful that I get to have this podcast, that I get to interview people like yourself, and that we get to talk about cannabis, and we're recording the oral history of cannabis. And it's just so amazing. 2024, and it's just amazing that we're able to be in this industry that's growing and evolving so fast. And it's like surfing a really, really, really big wave. And I love surfing.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, totally. I think for the right people, this is a time of opportunity and excitement. And,
there's lots of opportunity out there. And it can be scary.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of opportunity. And whether it's genetics, I mean, there's the fear factor you were talking about, though. There's a lot of people with that fear factor, like, this is only going to happen for another couple of years. We don't know.
If you're still here now, just keep going.
Seriously, at this point, just keep going and keep on fighting.
Yeah.
And I feel bad. I'm glad that I'm not into flower production.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm on the genetic side of it, because I think those people have it worse than anybody. The price keeps dropping, and then we've got guys that are able to get their costs lower, so they're charging less, and it's just charging less for better quality product. And every year the product gets cheaper and better quality for cheaper. And so it's real tough being a cultivator right now, and I feel for those guys out there.
Absolutely.
On the commercial level, and people that have invested their whole life into that, and they're like, well, what do I do now? Well, there's other things in the industry. But yeah, I mean, I love the genetics. I think it's amazing being able to cross breed so many different things. And now, taking a step back and looking at what my goals are and what do we want for the future? What do I want to leave as my legacy especially for cannabis? What is my legacy? I mean, I wrote a book, so that's great, but it's more than that. It's the genetic side. And I feel like now that I'm older, I can really kind of focus on like, okay, well, what am I leaving behind for everybody?
Absolutely.
So, and the plant is beautiful like that. Whatever you put in, it gives back to you.
Absolutely. I'm got like a really awesome veggie garden. Every year I try to have a veggie garden. Now I can't imagine my life without one. And this year it's just, knock on wood, just so
homegrown
awesome.
Vegetables. It's so much better.
So good.
And it's like, whether it's tomato, you just can't get that kind of stuff from the store. And it's also that you put the love into that plant, and you put the time and energy. And so it has your energy. So you're eating a byproduct of your energy. And that's just so amazing.
Also, there's cannabis laden throughout the garden. Like it's all interwoven exactly where it should be, amongst the lavender and the chamomile and the chard and the kale and the watermelons and the pumpkins and the zucchinis. Like they're all together, Wow. And I love having my son witness all of it. I have a 3-year-old. And, he's learning where his food comes from, and we get to go out there, and we're lucky enough to pull something from the garden pretty much every day. And just, having cannabis plants around just raises the vibration. Like, feels so good to be around those plants. It's the most iconic leaf in the world.
Yep.
You can go anywhere in the world and draw that leaf and most likely make a friend.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, they're going to get you some weed, you're going to get high together, and you're going to have a lifelong friend, even if you don't speak the same language. It's like such a friendship herb.
Yeah, I mean, food and cannabis are the two things that really bring people together. It's like an unspoken language.
It's so true. Yeah, someone was like, "So what do you like do for fun?" I was like, "Weed and restaurants."
Yeah.
I was like, "And make money." I think making money is fun.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of an abundance, like manifestation type of junkie a little bit.
Totally. That's
just
great.
Like love it. Always playing with the energies in the world because, you know, we're doing this dance and it's whatever you make it. And so, well, yeah, those are my fun activities basically.
Yeah. And everything that revolves around those, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like going to cannabis events.
Absolutely.
And eating good food at the cannabis
That's
events.
right.
You know, it's like, I love Spanibus for that.
Oh, yeah.
I love the European events.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to Mexico City in October, first part of October. And cannabis people in all these countries, they're so amazing. And the quality is getting, like, Mexico City blew my mind last time I was there. The quality and the people are so passionate about weed. And it's very much like it was in California in 2008.
Do they have some little social clubs there in Mexico City?
So they have groups. They have like association type groups where like they're growers and they all share their weed and they, you know, they have meetings and they talk about their stuff and they smoke and they share the weed and share genetics. And they're super passionate about California genetics and US genetics.
That's awesome.
And they're doing breeding. Some of these guys are doing breeding. Fat Budstard, he's a breeder down there and he does some really cool stuff. Santa Rosa Green Seeds, they're in Santa Rosa as well in Mexico.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
that's what's up.
Yeah. And I mean, the people are just so passionate. And even extract, they're into like making good extract and they love talking about it as much as I do. And I'm one of those people, I can talk for hours and hours and hours around food and weed and everything else. And it's so amazing.
Absolutely. I'm speaking of food, I'm actually doing a women's event coming up and I'm cooking all the food myself.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm not a classically trained chef, but I'm definitely a kitchen witchy mama. And I definitely feed people, you know, as my love language. So for years, I've been like playing with this event in my mind. And it's an honoring of women in cannabis.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's an intentional, like clever menu with a hash pairing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. For each course.
Nice. Where you smoke.
Yeah.
So like.
Yeah. We're going to smoke our weed and eat our food instead of eating the weed.
I'm not really into the whole eating the weed thing. And I think that's great.
Save that for at home.
I save that for at home and maybe once in a while, like someone has an infusion dinner, whatever. That's cool for them. Me, I want to smoke my weed and then eat my food. And I love amazing food and I love amazing weed and paired together, they can be absolutely amazing. But just the whole thing where you want some terps and some, 10 milligrams. But I feel like if you eat it with the course, I want to feel it now. I don't want to feel it after I'm done eating. And then I'm like, oh, I feel great.
Have to worry about getting home.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the two things. And I also like wine. I mean,
me too.
I like good wine, good alcohol. I like cocktails, but I'm not really drinking very much right now. But I love the social aspect of all of them, right? Like, especially cannabis with people that like food. Like that's a great one where you can talk about good food because there's so many good restaurants out there and there's restaurants everywhere in the whole world. Like doesn't matter where you go, there's good restaurants. And I feel like there's good restaurants everywhere if you know where to look.
I agree 100%. And anyone who wants to have a restaurant should find a way to let people smoke weed because we'll order like 3 times as much.
Totally. And tip better.
Yeah.
Treat the servers better.
Way
like
better.
Everything. Yeah.
Everything better.
We got a joint. What are we smoking here?
So this is some cereal milk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Really yummy.
I really like cereal milk.
Me too.
And that one, there's some different phenos of it too.
For me, it's got to be Expando. It's got to be smooth. If it's not smooth, I don't want to smoke it.
Well, the thing I like about really good cereal milk is it's creamy and it's gassy and it's got a little candy floral in it. And it really checks all the boxes.
It's everything you want.
It's everything you want.
Yeah.
It's like, so with all the modern cannabis, these gelato crosses, I think they're all trying to be really good cereal milk, honestly. But I mean, I like a good Gelato 33. I like a good Runts. All these things that are whatever you want to call them, white Runts, pink Runts, all these things, when they're done proper and they burn white and they just taste good down to the roach. I love those.
Mm-hmm.
I like haze too, though. So super silver. I got some Oaxacan. I'll show you these plants when you leave, but we got Oaxacan times Malawi.
Oh.
And these things smell great when you do the stem rub on them. And they're vegged about 5 feet tall. They're about to go outdoor. And I'm going to make some seeds with them.
Wow.
But the stem rub on them is like this amazing, it's not quite candy, but it's sweet, like citrusy sweet. And it smells hazy where you get with the haze, but like funky.
Okay. I have to check it out.
Sounds
really sativa-like.
Malawi. That's one of those ones that makes me feel good. Like Red Congo in Malawi.
Yeah.
Really good.
I like the high.
Malawi's really strong. Red Congo makes me feel good and happy and laugh. And then Durban just kicks my head in the dirt where I can't talk.
Yeah.
Or I'm so high. It's like, and it doesn't have a ceiling. All those strains, all those different African genetics, I feel like they don't have a ceiling to where you can keep smoking them and you get higher and higher. Skittles, there's like a line here, and it just doesn't get me higher than this. It'll get me high, but it doesn't get me higher than this. Where some of those equatorial, longer flowering ones, you smoke them and they just keep getting you more high, more high. You can smoke them for hours and you're still going to get more high.
That sounds awesome. I haven't gone like super deep on those, but I'd like to.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people here growing them.
Yeah.
It's mostly
Does it take so long?
Because they take so long and
they're so tall.
And they're so tall. You need a specific type of room to
and the genetics are rare.
And the people don't share the genetics.
Yeah.
Like those kind of things. I mean, I think you could probably get seeds of them fairly easy on the internet, right? And hunt your own. But people are lazy. They want clones. So, because the seeds are out there. The Ace Genetics, they sell some good stuff. You can search all over the internet and find pretty good stuff. Aladdin from Khalifa Genetics. He sells really amazing stuff.
Okay.
Landrace varietals.
You know who says hi? Josh and Kelly. Dragonfly.
Oh, nice. They're amazing people.
They're my dear friends.
They're absolutely amazing. So we were together on the Connect community event in Barcelona.
Yeah.
And she has an opinion and she's very well spoken.
Yeah.
And I'd love to get her on my podcast.
She wants
talked
to
about
come.
it. Yeah, she's amazing. And so like we hit it off there. And then I have no problem in debating stuff. And some people don't like debating, right? But I'm willing to debate stuff, how I feel about stuff. And I'm okay that you have a difference of opinion. And I think that's great when we can have two differences of opinion, talk about it, and maybe I'll see your side a little and you'll see a little bit of my side. And then we're like, okay, well, this is how it is now.
Right.
And so, I'm okay with trying to change people's minds and also having people try to change my mind. And so not a lot of people these days are like that. I feel like in the last 10 years, people have become so soft. They don't want to hear another opinion. They're like, no, that's wrong.
Right.
And we missed the good old debate.
So did you have a debate with her?
We were talking about sativas and genetics. And it was just good. It was good. I feel like
no bad vibes. You were able to just speak like civilized people and say each other's side. And
yeah. And I think she gets the whole passion for the sacred plant thing. And I think not everybody does.
Yeah.
Some people, it's either over their head or they're not into that or whatever. But like, I'm always about the sacred plant. And I feel like the plant has given so much to me. The reason I'm here is because of the plant.
Absolutely.
And I've put a lot into it, but I've got more. I feel like I've gotten more out of it than I've put into it a lot of times. And I'm just so grateful. It's crazy that, we could do the things that we've done and end up here now in the present. And the present's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So still cool cannabis events, high times, it's like the high times went away and people are like, oh, cannabis events are done. And it's like, no, they just started.
Still the Emerald Cup.
Emerald Cup's amazing.
Yeah, it's about to happen.
I love the Emerald Cup.
August 18th.
So yeah, it's like Emerald Cup and Boston Freedom Rally's coming up in September. I'd like to go to that. That's a pretty cool event, I've heard.
I haven't been, but I'd like to check it out someday too.
Yeah, me too. And then, Hemp Fest has always been amazing up in Seattle, but they haven't been doing Hemp Fest.
Right. I know events got hit really hard, with the whole.
Yeah, and funding for events and it's just.
And just people low turnout after everyone getting so scared.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say, Kelly and I have been working, doing some really special work with plant medicine, actually, like blessing up people's lives. Mm-hmm. And it's so new, it doesn't really have a name.
Wow.
Yeah. single ingredient plant medicine comes from cloves.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Beyond cool. Like bring me back to the juice I came for with cannabis,
Right.
Wow, miracles.
Nice.
Yeah.
So she gave me some hash that was like super, super amazing.
Yeah.
Some of the best hash I smoked this year.
Yeah.
So good. It was so good and just amazing. And the effect.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So talking about effect and going back to effect. And
right. You feel that energy.
Just feel that energy. And it's like, those are the kind of things that have brought me back to what am I doing breeding for flavor? Even though that's great. Right. It's great. And I love the way weed tastes, but like, let's make some feel good weed again.
Well, theirs doesn't lack flavor.
No, not at all.
But it has a noticeable feeling.
I feel like that some of the stuff that it's like, they all have different effects. Everything has a slightly different effect. But the feel good weed from White Thorn Rose and Blue 13 is like, it's different. It's different. It's not you couldn't categorize it as a stimulant or as a narcotic, right? It's somewhere in the middle, but it makes you feel great. And I think
slightly sedative.
Slightly, but like
I say it's stimulating and sedating.
It is. It's both.
That's what I like about Kush. It's stimulating. My brain's going, but my body's kicked back.
Yeah. So you've seen a lot of different OG Kushes over the years, I'm sure.
Yeah. Lots.
There was that Diablo OG that was coming from Petaluma. There was like Sonoma OG from those areas that were just so good. And SFV.
Oh, I love SFV. I also love Khalifa Kush and the Flow Rider OG.
Yeah. Yeah. So so that Flow Rider, the original, the Triangle Kush, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that was like the lime green, bigger buds, really good stuff. Had a little bit different of a high. Had a little bit different of, they all
Some of the Kushes can be heavier.
Some of the Kushes can definitely be heavier.
Some of those highs can be a little flat for me.
Yeah.
I don't appreciate a flat high.
Right.
I do want a stimulating aspect to it, or else I'm just going to get tie-tie.
I just love pine needles. When you can smoke and you taste the forest.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, there's something to be said about smoking the forest.
Oh, yeah. I could talk about Kush literally all day, every day.
Yeah.
So special.
Yeah. And it's funny, those OGs had different levels of earth. And so basically earth, citrus, and pine needles. And you could get some that were really piney and some that were like just a little piney. And then some that were super earthy and some that were mild in the earth. And then some that were real heavy in that citrus. When in that citrus, like sativa-ish, uplifting.
I like those ones, kind of getting more into the sour diesel-y vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
I like those. Stimulating sours.
Stimulating sours, yep.
Yeah, I like those.
So yeah, this weed's good.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's from the guy that made it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who was the guy that made it?
Kenny Powers.
Yeah.
Yeah, him.
Totally.
Yeah. That's from him and one of his work partners, Jay.
Yeah, they do good work.
Oh yeah.
Lots
so
of
beautiful.
Good stuff.
It's pretty as weed. So pretty.
Yeah. The flower looks amazing and
so beautiful.
It's chunky.
Yeah.
Have you tried
sticky.
the Pluto?
No, what is the cross?
That's to be debated, but it's definitely a gelato times a cake.
Okay.
I believe.
All right.
I wasn't there. And so we've heard different iterations. Sticky Farms up in Mendocino.
I'm familiar.
Pablo. And then Casey and those guys were doing it back in the day. And that Pluto was something special.
Okay.
And it got real big and it was really like, it checked all the boxes. It was like floral candy, purple.
Yum.
Smoked good down to the roach.
Yummy.
And the bag appeal was amazing. It was dark purple.
Yeah, you're saying all my little trigger words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Special.
I like gassy floral candy.
Yeah. And this is one where it's like you smoke one, you're like, I might smoke another. If you do bong rips, you wouldn't do just one.
One of the things I really appreciate about, a lot of the hashes are a lot of them are live. Most of them are live.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those like tuberose, Hawaiian flower, really refined floral notes can kind of only be captured when the plant's alive.
Yeah.
So they come in late at night, it's all swelled up. They chop it out of element of surprise, put it right on ice. And a lot of those jars can capture,
stuff that you don't get any other way.
Those very volatile, easy to disrupt
that are very
floral
subtle
notes
anyway.
That only can be found in fresh frozen.
Yeah.
They're the first to go when you dry your weed.
Right.
It's beautiful.
So what's your opinion on like BHO, like live resin versus rosin?
Yeah. So it's funny when you were talking, you were basically saying exactly what I say, which is if it's like really good, I'll enjoy it. Like I'll smoke a BHO if it's done right and purged properly,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I can appreciate good work anywhere.
Yeah.
If I were like, this is always my filter of like desert island, 5 strains, you know, what are you going to bring on a desert island for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
For me, it's not going to be a BHO.
Right.
It's going to be ice water hash, rosin, flour.
So what are your 5 for as far as flavors?
Strains?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Well, in no particular order.
Yeah.
Skittles, you know, some Skittles variant for sure.
Yeah.
Probably Whitethorn Rose variant.
Mm-hmm.
Something really up and gassy that's like diesel-y, you know, for sure. That I'm at 3. Yeah. I definitely want a nostalgic old school purple if I can get one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then for my 5th one, I'll probably just go with honestly like a straight up cookies.
Yeah.
I love cookies.
Yeah,
cookies really is stimulating and sedating, you know? I
think people have it's funny how fast we forget.
Right.
But there's people that are like, cookies. And it's like, no, cookies in 2010.
Yeah.
It's in everything for one thing.
Right.
And in 2010, that was the one to have. Like if you had cookies, it was top shelf.
Yeah.
Absolutely bready. It was like bready and gassy.
So expando. And you barely had to trim it. It was just little silver balls.
Yeah. It didn't, the one that we had never, like the first one that we had didn't yield. Had terrible node spacing. It was like spaghetti over, just like OG, like back in the day that we had. But the smoke of it was like you're smoking something that's special.
Yeah.
It was like definitely like a little bit of musk and a little bit of bread and a little bit of gas. And it was multi-layered.
That top lingering pissy note that's so distinct. Like you're in a hot boxed concert and somebody lights up a joint of cookies and it like literally grabs your nose because it has one top note of Durban piss above all the others.
Yeah.
And you go,
like cherry.
Who's smoking that?
Who's smoking that cherry?
Like that is what you find in everything. And that's what people love. It's what brings the smoothness, you know, the gassiness, that top note. So distinct.
Yeah, so like for all that stuff, it's like the bread that's in wedding cake is like
people are quick to forget, but I don't forget. I cookies has a special place in my heart because I was like there for all that and like I was growing cookies and pink panties. I was at the little
pink panties was cool though when you grow. So I used to grow pink panties too, and it would get black. The plant was black. Yeah, the clones were purple stem. Same thing, Sunset Sherbet, but the as a parent to Sunset Sherbet or whatever, the cut that we had of pink panties, I have jars of just purple stemmed clones.
Yeah.
Pictures of them.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Before cookies, there was really just OG was the queen of the mountain, you know, and cookies was the first cannabis strain to really change the whole game.
Yeah. It was like, there was, so for me, I remember the Bubba and the Master and the OG, right? So there was the Bubba Kush.
Yeah. I remember
and that was
Bubba.
The top shelf. That was like,
right. Yeah.
We didn't call it pre-98. It was just Bubba Kush.
Right.
And then there was the Master Kush, and it grew really strange.
Right.
It grew like fingery, and it grew like sideways.
That was probably
buds.
my lesser favorite of the two.
Yeah,
to tell you the truth.
And the Hindu from back. Wait, that was first. Actually,
and Bubba was so soapy.
It was. It was like silver Irish
balls.
Springs in your mouth. Yeah, it totally was soapy.
And that was. Did you ever have a sen candy? It's like a Chinese candy that like literally tastes like soap. It was like so sen vibes.
Bubba was the thing. It was like straight soap. And that's how you could recognize it. And the thing is it grew. I like the way it grows. But if you showed me a picture, I could be like, yeah, that's Bubba. Because it's so distinct the way that it grows. And it was like shorter. And the way that the leaves, actually the pointed leaves, they don't have serrations on them. And they kind of fold up. And
so I would still put Girl Scout cookies above all of those. But neck, a tie, and same level as straight OG for me.
Yeah.
Like I like Josh all those variants, but they weren't, you know.
I love the SFE and the Josh D OG.
Yeah.
And those two are like my jam.
Yeah, I like SFE for sure.
Yeah. The R, whatever
if you want
call
pine,
it. Yeah.
SFE is the piniest.
It's the pine. Yeah, it is. It's like pine needles.
Other
in
than
your
that,
mouth.
I want diesels.
But you know what I love about that pine needle is like you smoke it and you're smoking it down to the roach, and every time you blow it out, you just taste the forest.
Yeah, it's
the pine needles. Like
amazing.
Literally, it's And so Josh Freeman, he's from Sebastopol. He taught me that you can eat pine needles. I didn't know that. They're really high in vitamin C. And if you eat the baby pine needles as they're freshly growing, they taste amazing. And I'm like, fuck, that tastes just like OG Kush. That was the first thing I thought of when I had it.
I have to give that a try sometime.
Yeah, so the fresh growth from the pine needles, it's like redwood or whatever.
I have to give that a try.
Yeah, really good.
All right.
Tastes like OG Kush. If you want to it's a reminder of OG Kush.
I like that. Yeah. If I could drink and eat OG Kush. Actually, well, back in the day, we used to make this. I learned a lot like over these years being self-taught. And like one of the things was that actually glycerin is really not a good solvent for cannabinoids, but it's an excellent solvent for terpenes.
Wow.
Yeah. So, making tinctures the old school way through glycerin with all these different, strain specific batches really left you with like essentially a liquid flower, a liquid version of the flower. It was such a good capture of terpenes, but not a good capture of cannabinoids.
Interesting.
Very. So interesting.
And not healthy for you to smoke in your pens.
Yeah, we were making like spritzers and stuff, like Kush sodas and stuff. It was so interesting because it wouldn't really get you high, but it would make your face start to sweat. Like there was something going on.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever had a high terpene experience where your face kind of gets a little flushed?
Absolutely.
It was doing that. It's so weird because it all lines up. I was like, oh my God, I get it. This was truly a capture of terpenes.
Yeah. Really
Very
cool.
interesting. Yeah. It was really, I guess kind of an accident. I was trying to make something very strong.
Wow.
But it was only strong in terpenes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah, I remember the version 1.0 pens they used glycerin and they combine it, and it was just so bad.
Yeah.
Glycerin just not meant to be smoked like that, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, the industry's just come so far. Look at pens, and now we have Puffcos, and we have Irises,
I'm telling you,
and all these cool things.
So my girl Frosty, she like hooked it up with this like special attachment or whatever, and I didn't realize it like wasn't even living my best life without it.
Wow.
And so she had to like put it in the app and all this stuff. And so there's like a counter. So like this is like the new color. I've had it maybe like 2 months. And
nice.
Anyways, I had taken over 2,000 dabs with it so far.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, if I had this piece, I would probably like have taken a lot less because it makes it so much more dab like. I'm like, I'm wasting my money.
Totally. That's really cool.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah. I mean, the future, we used to have the volcanoes.
Oh,
volcanoes,
yeah. I love volcano.
Me too.
Yeah.
But once I figured out that you need one bag per flavor, and it's better.
Oh, is that right?
If you just keep reusing it for that same flavor, it's better than mixing them all and they all end up tasting the same.
Yum, yum.
Cat piss back in the day was my favorite. So the champagne was good too. It's another one.
I remember the champagne.
Yeah.
I remember the cat piss for sure.
Yeah. Well, skunk. I love skunk, right?
Speaking of volcano bags, we used to run a volcano bag across this whole thing at the dispensary.
That's amazing. Big 20-foot long volcano bags.
Yeah,
you used to
everyone would just be sharing them.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
People weren't afraid to share. And you'd do it for a hit of weed.
People weren't afraid of germs. Right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you would do it it was worth it for the hit of weed.
Right. Yeah, we didn't even think about that kind of stuff though.
Yeah, I know. We were like really living life.
Now everyone's like, oh, I need hand sanitizer.
I know.
Wild.
It is wild. I know. It's so wild. Because like I'm up in, like I said, Sebastopol now, and I just literally like today saw 2 people biking like on a country road wearing masks. There's like just no one around.
I've seen people by themselves in a car with the windows rolled up wearing a mask, and I'm like, okay, well maybe they have COVID.
I get it. You don't want to be seen. That's what I always think too. I'm like, I guess they must have it.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it's true. They wouldn't be biking on a hot summer day. It's like 100 degrees out.
No, it's just.
Can you imagine you're biking with all your hot breath just pressing on your face?
Yeah. I mean, you're getting your lungs stronger, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we live in a strange world.
It is a really strange world. Well, there's just so many different realities going on at once.
Yeah. Well, everyone's got their own reality, right?
Totally.
So all these different perceptions of what reality is coming from different people, and trying to understand people from an outside perspective instead of looking at just them straight on. Sometimes that's the best way.
Right.
So, and I love that about cannabis. I feel like it makes me able to think of stuff from a different perspective sometimes.
Totally. Well, I think that's why some people really can't smoke cannabis, is maybe they're not ready to look at themselves.
Yeah.
Like my favorite Bob Marley quote is, when you smoke the herb, you reveal yourself to yourself, you know? And we've all been in the situation where you get in a little tiff with your friend, you smoke a little weed and you're like, wow, I was like out of line back there. It really does show you the opposite side.
Right.
It's a perspective shifter. And like, that's why, I personally, for me, that's one of my tools, but I always know I'm going to like flip my mind after I smoke on something,
right.
So yeah, the matrix is just these like tightly bundled belief systems, like an example is that we all agree that we stop at red lights, and if you break that belief, you can go to jail.
Yeah.
Or even worse, hurt someone, but like everyone's going to think you're crazy.
Yeah.
Because you run a red light, because it's a very tight bundle of beliefs around traffic rules and safety in our society. So we all agree to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a point where a lot of people, more than half the population, agreed that cannabis was bad for us.
Right.
And it's like, it's so strange, but that was the reality back then. They were like, cannabis is bad, reefer madness, all this stuff.
Right.
And misinformation and miseducation. And it's like, it's so strange that we went that direction with cannabis. Like, if you think we've probably been using it, not even probably, we've been using it for thousands of years as medicine. And then just in the last, since like the 30s and 40s, they started, making it look bad to everybody. And,
well, such a cure-all.
Yeah.
They demonize.
They completely
because it grows like a
demonized
weed in our backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So like cannabis can do what white willow bark does.
Yeah.
And chamomile and lavender and calendula, but they can't all do what cannabis does.
Right. Plant medicine.
Cannabis does what 100 plants do.
Exactly.
And it grows like a weed.
Mm-hmm.
It's their nightmare.
Right.
There's no profit in it for them. That's why they tax it so high.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And now we have the majority at least agreeing that it should be legalized.
Yeah.
I think big steps, little steps over time that have turned into big steps.
So I feel like two things that really help people change their mind is either personally experiencing a cannabis miracle or witnessing someone they care about receiving a cannabis miracle, or benefit from cannabis. And at this time, it's seeded out enough that I think, with 6 degrees of separation, people have been in touch with these cannabis miracles and seen what this plant can do for totally straight edge people that were really even opposed to trying it themselves, So
yeah, it's like, we don't have a right. I feel that we don't have the right to tell people, as long as they're not hurting other people,
right?
What sort of plant medicine is good or bad for them. They should be allowed to do, as long as you're not hurting anybody else.
That's how I feel. So, we have more than 200 cannabinoid receptors in our body. You only have 8 opioid receptors.
Yeah.
So they start under your tongue, sublingual tincture, right? If I was, God forbid, on my deathbed, I would hope that I might have a receptor for the medicine you may place in my mouth. Yeah. Under my tongue. Mm-hmm. It's not saying put this here.
Yeah.
So in my personal opinion, I think it's our birthright.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And pretty clear to see that it's a tool that's been given to us to use to be well,
For sure. I mean, it should be everybody's option, whether you want to do it or not.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm not one to judge like that, but like, it's one of those things that it only makes the world a better place, in my opinion.
Me too. Yeah. Hungry, happy, rested.
Yeah.
Side effects of cannabis.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
it's so fun.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I mean, alcohol, it's a lot. It's a funny thing with alcohol and tobacco, they're both legal.
Sure.
But they do a lot more bad than they do good.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
So everyone has their own opinion on it. But my opinion is that they do worse or they do more bad than good.
I've definitely seen many people destroy their lives from alcohol. You know, I've had my own little dances with drinking too much and all kinds of things. And, they call it a spirit for a reason. And, and trust me, I love a little glass of wine here and there. Don't get me wrong. I don't have to put it down to bring cannabis up, but it's a really different vibration as far on the other side of the vibration spectrum as possible.
Totally. And so I was talking about this at a Dead and Company show a while back, and it was because you could see the vibration that people were on. The people that were smoking weed or whatever, tripping.
Yeah.
And then the people that were drinking had a completely different vibration. And what it does is alcohol tunes you out.
Right.
Whereas cannabis
it's true.
And psychedelics, they tune you in. Right.
Yeah.
So you're able to hyper focus or focus more. And I think we all need to be tuned in a little bit more, especially with music, and sometimes tuned out of this norm that we have and into the, on the right frequency.
So I'm like really, that's speaking my language. So, with this time, 2024, it's not like a time we've ever seen before, and it's never going to go back to whatever it was, and it's this time where, if you don't have a little bit of a meditation process where any way that you're going in and connecting with your own soul,
yeah,
it's going to feel rougher and rougher. For me, I'm a spiritual person. I believe in Great Spirit, and if I didn't have that connection to Great Spirit and the faith that, the things that I believe that the universe has my back and frequencies and vibrations matter and all the things I really, my little web of beliefs, then I would feel way more lost than I do already, when everybody's feeling lost on some measure, So the thing is, we spend so much time in technology that like you're kind of tuning yourself into the vibration of AI by being on your phone all the time. Like I do it all the time. They do way too much. We use them for cameras, calendars, like everything we do.
You start getting hive-minded.
Yeah. And so, you're tuning into your cell phone over and over again. You're getting on that AI vibe. But the truth is we're actually nature spirits, we're humans of nature. And so
people need to ground themselves more.
Yeah,
and
it's exactly right. Yeah. So if you go and lay on the ground, like find a nice spot that feels good to you in the grass, take your shoes off, flip yourself like a pancake, at least 20 minutes on each side. Get your phone as far away from you as possible. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's sun or shade, wherever you're comfortable.
Yeah.
When I do that, I can feel the problems pulling off of me. It just like gravity pulls it off of me right away. And it's like a spa day and like some really effective therapy.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of other good things all wrapped into one. And I get up just feeling like, a new person.
Yeah. Go do gardening with your shoes off.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're able to spend time in nature. I do cold plunging too. And that's good. I love cold plunging. I love the idea of cold plunging.
Yeah.
I think that everybody should try it.
I got to try that.
Yeah. It's so
I'm sure
good
the
for
part
you.
of my brain is very small.
Yeah. I think
like that. I heard how it works. Like there's a part of your brain that, grows when you make yourself do things you don't want to do. So the cold plunging literally grows this part of your brain. Yeah. And apparently undisciplined people have like this very small part of this brain. I'm like, I bet mine is like so pinner.
That's
because I'm a lady. I like to be comfort.
Yeah.
But getting into a cold pool sounds like so awful to me.
To force yourself to get in freezing cold water.
Yeah.
And so I went to the extremes where I went down to like 37 degrees. And now I'm fine at anything below 55, you get really good results. So I'm like in the high 40s, low 50s,
that's great,
whatever.
Yeah.
And I enjoy doing it. And I feel like it's a great replacement for coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
It's a great way to also just get a different perspective. And it's hard to be upset after you get out of cold plunge.
Sure.
Because you're so focused on the thing is it brings you into the moment. And I think we need to do that a lot more than what we typically do. We're thinking about the future. We're thinking about the past.
Right.
And if you can once a day just get in some cold water or meditate or do whatever it is.
Right.
And then go into the present, you start realizing that the reality is different than you probably had the perspective for before.
Right.
And it's really wild. But yeah, cold plunging, meditation, all that, exercise.
Self-care. It's my spiritual practice. When I started having like an energetic hygiene practice, wow, my life really started changing.
Prioritizing yourself sometimes?
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I got to change the order sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, no, actually, I can't start work until I take my walk.
Yeah.
My mind is too busy. It's pulling me in so many directions. If I just take my walk, I come back, I find that I'm really able to focus.
And you're more productive.
Totally.
Yeah, it's so much. Yeah, you really need to prioritize people need to prioritize themselves more, for sure.
Right. Right now, especially, so.
Yeah, taking something out just for you, whether it's a walk or whether it's cold plunging or going to the gym or whatever, or a combination of all those things. Yeah. There's so many things you can really do that are good for you.
Totally.
Besides your diet, because that's important too.
It's so good.
But the weed's good.
Yeah.
And then these dabs are some of my genetics.
Really yummy.
They were made by my buddy up in Washington.
So yummy. So smooth.
Yeah. Gary Payton times grape soda.
Yum.
Can't go wrong. Gary Payton's another good one.
Yeah, I like Gary Payton a lot. I like a lot of the strains that Ken made, like Snowman.
Yeah.
The Y.
The Y is really interesting because in 2014, I have yet to see the Y Life like it was in 2014. There's been some awesome crosses that have been made with it and whatever, but like the Y Life, we used to get the Y Life. My friend Stevie, my friend Goldmember, he used to get the Y Life from San Francisco, $60 an eighth, whatever. Like that was like the high price back then. And he'd get some ounces. Yeah. He'd get some ounces of it. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was, but I haven't seen that since.
Yeah.
Since that's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was like floral candy. It was like smoking candy. It was like as skittly as Skittles is Skittles.
Yeah.
It was that with floral. And you would smoke it, and it was like I couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah.
And those are the things where I get like an ounce of it and I just smoke that first. Even if I have 20 different things,
Yeah.
I'm going to smoke all that because I just keep going back to it.
That's
I'm like,
how
that
I know
was
my
so
winners.
good.
Yeah, I keep going back to them. You also made cherry pie.
Yeah.
The Wise Pie Times cookies.
Yeah. Pie Times cookies was good. Yeah. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, so good.
So if you had one thing that you could tell yourself, to your younger self that was first started out in the industry, you could have, if you could tell them one thing, what would that thing be?
Don't pay attention to the smoke and mirrors.
Nice.
Yeah. There's so many little fear factors and like
distractions and noise
houses of cards that came tumbling down and, you know, just nothing was really as it seemed. So just like get really passionate about whatever it is you're into and put your nose to the grindstone and just keep going.
It's so funny that you say that because I feel like most of the things I thought when I was younger are not completely the opposite.
Right.
But they're never as they seem.
Right.
And perspective and perception are just these amazing things. And you get perspective over time. And then you realize, wow, like I think that suffering's not that bad. Like I think people should suffer to a degree so they can appreciate the good times.
Right.
And like I think that a lot of parents, they don't want their kids to suffer or have a hard life. And I think hard lives make some of the best people, and appreciation for what they have and being grateful. You get that from having tough times.
Yeah, it's true. The pressure makes the diamonds.
Absolutely. And
it
then
is true.
You really are just grateful for all that you have. And you also know what you have and what you had, and the experiences really put life into perspective. So every day, you know, I feel like as we get older, years go by faster. Every year goes by a little bit faster because you figure a year when you're 5 years old is 20% of your life. But but a year when you're 20 is a 20th% of your life, you know, or 5%.
Yeah.
Right? So like you look at it like that, it's as you're 40, that 5 becomes 2.5. And so each year goes by so much faster. It's all perspective. And we think, you know, time, we got so much time, and really we don't. I don't think this is the end as far as like existence, but we have a finite amount of time to do all the things we want to do. And there's no better time to do them than the present.
It's so true. Yeah. Oh yeah. They say, so if you had the luxury of knowing that you were dying tomorrow, what would you do in your last 24 hours? And that like, now that's how you should live each day.
That's always an amazing question. And you should ask yourself that every day.
Yeah. I know. I would go make amends with like one or two people who it's not that we're on bad terms, but maybe we haven't talked, but they're important to me, you know, family. I would make sure we're all good, you know, knowing I would never see them again.
Yeah. I mean, I'd definitely go see my parents.
Right.
I think that'd be the first thing I'd do.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky. I was raised by really good parents.
That's awesome.
I had great parents.
Yeah, me too.
You know, we had our ups and downs and arguments and stuff, but my parents were amazing. Still are amazing.
Are they here?
I'm blessed to have both parents still around.
That's great. You know, my dad passed in January.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
That's tough. And it's like, I know that that's coming. And that's, as you get older, like I experienced the loss of my dog, which was one of the toughest things.
Right.
And if you've never had that, you probably wouldn't understand it. But as we get older, we start experiencing loss.
Yeah.
And then I imagine, you know, that my parents are going to pass one day, which they will. Everything passes.
Right.
And so it's a trip when you think of those things and like what you would do with your last day.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I have to say, you know, I'm grateful. I spent so much time with him on his last days, on his last months.
Nice.
So much time.
Blessing.
It was a blessing. I'm grateful because you can never, ever get that time back.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing is you don't get time back.
Yeah.
You can go have new experiences, but you don't get the old ones back.
It's very true. Yeah.
But it's all about good memories anyway.
It is. And it's also about like recognizing what are the moments from your past that are robbing you from your present.
Right.
Because those are the moments that should go.
Yeah.
Because they're just taking up real estate in your own mind, you know? Yeah.
That's what I love about psychedelics, because I feel like we have these filters, and I call them filters, but really a lot of them are traumas, but traumas create filters.
Right.
And all these experiences from the moment we're born, we see the world as we see it now because of all these experiences.
Yeah, our lenses.
These lenses, right? So we see this world in a specific, our reality is this lens, right? And so when we take psychedelics or we smoke cannabis, I think sometimes it pulls those lenses or those filters off. And so then you start seeing the world, maybe not how it really is to everybody else, but how it really is and how it should be. Right. And I think like trauma is just such a bad thing. And we've all experienced.
With each one of those lenses comes like a whole different belief system.
Right.
Yeah. And so a lot of them are limiting beliefs. Mm-hmm. And those are what you have to let go of. Once you see them, you can let them go.
Right.
In all kinds of ways that I'll tell you later. But like, I mean, I can go into it now, but I've just been doing this practice where you basically bring it into your heart.
Yeah.
Bring it into your heart. Yeah. Nice. Which is the tool of 5D, used to be the mind, and the mind wants all your attention.
Right.
But it's really all about the heart. So the heart is such a high vibratory tool that anything you bring into your heart gets neutralized.
Wow.
Yeah. So, really cool. Yeah. So anytime you notice a limiting belief, and it's one way you can find out, this all came from this woman I've been doing a coaching thing with. One way you can find out what they are is you start describing yourself to like a friend. Mm-hmm. Like pretend there's someone here and start describing yourself, and you'll start to notice these beliefs come up. You might say something like, oh yeah, sorry, I smoke a lot of weed. I always forget stuff. Like that's a limiting belief that cannabis makes you forget things.
Right.
And you pull it into your heart, and then it leaves your life, and it's not holding you anymore. It's like it neutralizes the contract.
Wow.
And you're not in agreement with those words anymore.
Nice.
5D tool.
Pretty cool.
Where we're at right now. It's so cool. All that earthing and just so many hacks. Like you don't have to do things the way you used to.
Right.
That's
the beauty of today and the now.
Yeah, totally.
Really cool.
Super cool.
You are the Maya in Whoopi and Maya, and you guys are doing some big things.
Yeah. So Whoopi and Maya is Whoopi Goldberg's vision for a product line for the moon cycle relief, all medicated. So, it's everything a woman wants on her moon cycle. It's like a bath, a herbal rub that has a lot of different herbs in it, a tincture that's also multi-herb, and a raw cacao.
Wow.
Yeah. So we started the company, I think 7 or 8 years ago. And like everyone else, we had our, set of challenges, which everybody in the cannabis space has. And we decided to kind of pause it for just a little bit. And then we restructured, and now we're back.
Wow. Really cool.
It's so cool. It's so interesting because it's like, wow, sometimes opportunity knocks twice, and
not everybody gets that opportunity.
It's so cool. And and everybody loved the products, and everybody loved the company. And like to this day, we're still getting requests for our products, serious people like endometriosis patients and stuff that were actually finding true relief from our products. So I'm excited and grateful to like be able to do this again. On July 20th, which is Saturday, Whoopi's getting her keys to the city for Hollywood. Yeah. Amazing. And then we're having a party that night, and she's going to be re-releasing Whoopi and Maya there, and also Emma and Clyde, which is her flower line. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Super sweet. So it's exciting. The brand will probably mostly be licensed to out-of-state partners. Yeah. Like I know she's from New Jersey. That's like an important place for us to be. Definitely East Coast, Of course, California too, but everyone who's been in California understands that there are some challenges with.
Lots of challenges.
Yeah. So sad, Yeah, that was one thing I did want to say when we were talking about Spain and all the social clubs was like, not to get political, but I really feel like Gavin Newsom like dropped the ball when he didn't let us have live music and food and wine
events
and espressos with like our weed, so there's just we're not able to have that culture, yet we have the best cannabis and the best wine and produce in the whole entire world.
Yeah.
Heartbreak.
Literally the
heartbreak.
Best.
We had the most potential to have such great cannabis tourism and farm to table boutique vibes.
And I think he said that he's against it. It just wasn't written correctly, was his cop out for it. But it's like, come on.
Like whatever it is, dude, you dropped the ball. Like we could have been flowing by now. We could have brought a lot of money to San Francisco.
Yeah. And having places where people could consume and enjoy other things along with it.
100%. And not be treated like a criminal
Right.
when you have to spend top dollar for some boofed out weed
Yeah.
that had to be like robbed of its terpenes just to make it to market the compliant way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heartbreak.
It's a heartbreak. And I think we're solving those problems as we speak, like with refrigerated distribution and delivery and trying to get the product to the consumer sooner, because I think that's a huge problem.
Right.
Is the consumer, and some of these guys have amazing flour. I was talking about this on my last episode, but there's amazing flour. But then you got to wait 1 or 2 months to get it, and then it's not amazing anymore.
Yeah, the boof process.
The boof process, and they're boofifying the weed.
I know. Alec has a really good breakdown of that. Alec from SC Labs.
Mm-hmm.
He can explain that whole process so well. It's
That's awesome. I need to get him on the show.
Yeah, sure. You do. I just feel like it would have been such a vibe if you could like roll up to a farm and actually see unmanicured weed in jars, and then they bring out the little wooden tongs and like handicure it for you and then weigh it up for you. And, that real nice vibe where you're getting something fresh and farm to table. Like it should have been more like that.
Right.
Considering like a couple flakes of trim isn't anything anyways.
Right.
To micromanage it like that just like blocked all the flow.
Well, I love the microbrewery winery model that would be great for, with the terroir.
Yes.
In Humboldt.
Yes.
Mendocino, Sonoma, Trinity, like all those places. And then you put the farmers back. You empower the farmers to do what they've been doing long before most of the people that are doing it now. And then you can experience it with them and hear the stories of how their grandparents were outlaws and basically like bootleggers, and had to fight for the plant and do stuff that they believed in, even though it was illegal. And now it's legal. And those people are the ones that should be growing it anyway.
Totally. 100%.
So if somebody is trying to find Maya and they're looking to get a hold of you or they want to know more about you, where can they go?
Well, we're on Instagram. We're at Get Ohm Living on Instagram. We also have a CBD website, which is ohm-wellness.com. And then our THC website, which is ohmliving.com.
Nice.
And you can find us in retails. You can buy our products online. And then, Whoopi and Maya will be back on the shelves shortly as well.
Really cool.
Yeah.
We need to collaborate on some stuff in the future.
I would love that.
Awesome.
Any formulation needs, I got you.
Oh, yeah.
We're
ready. It's like there's so many cool things that I have the ideas for that I can't execute myself. But that's what I love about not to go on and on the show, but I love that about the recreational world and the legalization of cannabis is that we can be specialists. And I don't want to do everything anymore. I don't want to do tissue culture. I have a partner that does that.
Right.
I want to focus on genetics. I don't have to grow flower or be the guy who changes, the ACs out like we used to do everything back in the day.
Right.
It's
exactly.
beautiful. We can really be specialists and really dial those things in. And now with technology, it's just amazing.
You don't have to be the Swiss Army knife anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, those were fun days too. Don't get me wrong.
Sure. But we did that because we had to be private. So we couldn't just bring anyone in anywhere.
Right. Yeah. It was much different.
Yeah. So like, a lot of, cannabis people who were founders, like came from a time where we only hired friends and family because that was the only safe way to do it. So to like step into these situations where all of a sudden you have HR, you're like, whoa, but I only know how to connect with people by like rolling up a doobie, talking story. No,
they need one lunch, 30-minute lunch a day. You got to have a break in the morning and a break in the afternoon.
Right.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.